You know, it's not like I'm going into the studio to try and write the worst song I can possibly do. I'm trying to write the best stuff. I'm trying to play the big shows. I'm trying to, you know, but I'm also not like counting on that because I could get let down and then I'd just be sad.
Hi, I'm Hannah from NME, and today I'm joined by Niall Horan for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. Hello.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being
I'm buzzing.
here. How are you doing today? Busy day of press?
Yeah, long day. Breakfast radio to photo shoots to things with yourself. Yes, yeah, busy promo day.
Is this kind of the first time you've been able to talk about the album properly?
Yeah.
How is it?
This is, because I've obviously been in the works for a long time, so everything's hush-hush, and then, you know, there's a rollout campaign and the whole thing, and you have to kind of keep certain things stum. So it's nice to be able to have a chat about it.
Absolutely. So by the time this runs, there'll be a few more announcements. We'll know the track listings,
That's
so
right,
we can fully dig in.
Yeah.
So we are here to discuss the show. What differed this time around for album number 3?
I think there was no heartbreak, which kind of then made me write songs about different stuff. There was also a pandemic in that as well, so I think a lot of it is just like the types of stuff that I was going to write about. And when the pandemic was going on, I just kind of wrote down the show because it felt like we were on some sort of the Truman Show, or it felt like we were in some sort of weird reality. And then from there, I just sat down one night in I want to say it's like September or October of that first year when I actually felt a tiny bit creative after the pandemic and stuff like that. It was obviously still going on, but we'd gotten used to the fact that we weren't going anywhere. And then I was like, right, well, I should probably start writing, I think. Yeah, I just wrote a song, and if it wasn't anyway good, we probably still wouldn't have an album now. I kind of needed that one to get me out the gate.
Which song was that?
The Show. The Show
Amazing.
was the first. I had that written down as a concept, thinking that would just be like my album title. And then, because I actually don't say. Do I actually say The Show? I think I say A Show in the song. The chorus is basically saying if everything was easy and nothing ever broke, would we realise how good we had it all along? And that was kind of summed up the pandemic, because we kind of lost all of our control that we like to have as humans. And then it was just, that was going to be the through line, in a bigger picture life stuff. The show being a metaphor for our lives, I guess.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it's the album of a 30-year-old. Is that something? How did that impact it?
Yeah. I just think that like the last time I wrote an album, I did less thinking.
Yeah.
You don't in your early 20s. You don't think too much at all. I don't think. Well, I didn't anyway. Probably just the immaturity of me. But I think with pandemics and relationships and things like that, you kind of subconsciously grow as a person, I suppose. Yeah. And then. Yeah, I just feel it, production-wise and what I'm saying, it just sounds like something that a 30-year-old would release, not a youthful version of what I did before, you know.
Because you're turning 30 later this year, right? As am I.
Oh yeah.
How are you feeling about it? Because I am feeling quite scared, but are you feeling kind of like ready for that chapter?
Yeah, apparently it's great. I'm good with it. When is your birthday?
December, so I've got a little while.
Right, okay, I'm September. I'm just right before. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But it's like
take you back.
But no, I think it'll be. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's fun. Yeah, I've always been one of those people that I hate the phrase "live in the moment." It sounds like one of them things you have on a mug or on a T-shirt. Yeah. But I've always kind of, for the want of a better phrase, I've always tried to just kind of live in the moment and. Not look too far into the future or too far back, because you start overcomplicating things. Yeah. Just what you see is what you get. Live it, do it.
Well, that sort of leads us nicely on to Heaven, which that was kind of a guiding principle for writing Heaven, right? Yeah,
that was where Heaven came from. I had that like line, God only knows where this could go, and that was kind of just sums it all up, because there's no book for it. I remember listening to a Peter Gabriel song one time called The Book of Love. And that's what he's like, no one has a book for this, you know. We don't know what happens. So I'm kind of a bit like that in life in general, I suppose.
And when writing Heaven, were there any kind of musical influences to that one? I was wondering if that line you just mentioned was maybe a Beach Boys reference at all.
I'm getting that a lot. I actually didn't think about it at the time, but now it makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to get caught up in some legal scandal. But no, it actually didn't. But that kind of music is a heavy influence of mine. I recorded my first album in the studio. They did. Their biggest albums, their two biggest albums were done kind of in this east place called East West in LA. And I like obsessed with anything Laurel Canyon and that kind of like 60s, 70s stuff that was going on there. I grew up on that. So yeah, without like, I'm not saying I'm going around writing songs of, that sound exactly like that, but for instance on the album you'd hear a lot of like BVs and stuff, backing vocals, and I'm big on that because of the stuff that I grew up on, effectively.
Who did you get into do backing vocals? Are there any sort of like secret people in there?
I write a lot with a girl called Amy Allen, who's like amazing songwriter, recent Grammy winner with Harry, and I've just written for a long time with her, and anytime we do anything together, she'll just help me do BVs and sing with me. So it's basically a lot of it's her, and then the rest of it's just me spending hours going on tracks. Like I try and stack it as much as I can on my own to make it sound like a wall of BV. So I spent a lot of time on, as much time as I would spend on drums. I would spend the same amount of time on backing vocals. I felt that like it needed to be a big part of the production and the sound throughout the record.
Are you fully in there in the production, being like, I want it to sound exactly like this?
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing,
Yeah, no, I have to be. I'm too much of a control freak, I think. I have to be involved in. Obviously, I have producers and they've got their ideas and stuff like that. But I've got references and sounds that I like that I've maybe used previously, or a sound that I maybe heard somewhere that I think that would sound sick in there. Or we did loads of mad stuff. But I try and get as involved as I can, because I keep the team small, so we're always bouncing stuff around.
What is some of the mad stuff you just mentioned?
Well, I just kind of felt a bit more experimental. There's songs on here this time that are stuff that I haven't tried before, maybe synth sounds that you wouldn't necessarily associate with me. I think the synth is probably the biggest one on this record. There's a lot of like 80s, 70s and 80s synth that literally we had an 80s synth with us, and we would just mess around with different stuff. That's the great thing about it. When you write the song, and then when you start dressing it up, you're playing around and seeing what you can get. Synth is probably the main thing that I experiment with the most.
When you are dressing it up, are there some songs that completely transformed, maybe like a ballad on a piano that ended up being really up-tempo? Yeah,
it was On a Night Like Tonight. Started with just me and acoustic guitar. On a Night Like Tonight was just like me playing 3 chords and on just a random Thursday in my mate John's house, and then it became, because I nearly had the whole song just going around on those 3 chords for ages, and then we started messing around. Then the synth came into play, and we started messing around, and I was doing all these mad BV sounds and oohs and ahs, and then before you know it, it was this like ethereal kind of madness. You get a bit. What I wanted to do on A Night Like Tonight was have like nearly feel like you've got 2 separate songs in one. Like you're getting this acoustic thing for a minute and a bit, and then it kicks into, which is effectively like a 90s Britpop kind of vibe that was going on there. But On a Night Like Tonight was meant to be the most basic and ended up being probably the bigger sounding song of the record.
And I guess on the flip side, are there maybe any songs that you were like, I want to have like a brass band, a choir, and then you're like, oh, actually, it's really nice, strip back and set it up. There's a couple. Mainly, You Could Start a Cult. I obviously just like, that's very obviously a me song. That's me just sitting around just playing that. Yeah, and I had all these ideas for You Could Start a Cult, where it was like I was going to have like, a full female choir, and it was going to have like all these strings on it and all the BV thing again, and what is effectively a folk song. And then my producer John was just like, no, we haven't got our moment where you haven't got our Niall moment, like our proper Niall moment yet, where it's just like, and it was the last song. And at that point I dressed up so many songs
think, and he was just like, no, this is where we have the acoustic moment, and I played like a completely mediocre, I wouldn't even call it mediocre, less than mediocre harmonica. There's like 4 notes in it.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And yeah, exactly. Everyone's shocked, but I can't even play the thing. I know how to play 4 or 5 notes on it, and then hope for the best. And yeah, it's just kind of raw, and the song says a lot, but it's a really small song.
Yeah.
And that was really sweet.
Great song title name as well.
Yeah.
What sort of influenced it lyrically?
Yeah. I watch a lot of true crime with my girlfriend. It's a lot of that kind of thing, and I just wrote it down like one night when we were watching something. It's like this. It's a big thought. It's like you could. I just thought it was. I thought it was funny initially.
Yeah.
You could literally start a cult, and I'd follow you. I'd follow you into the fire. It kind of started as a joke and then became this really like
moving and
sweet
beautiful.
song.
Yeah.
It is funny. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask about Meltdown, which was my favourite of the tracks I've
really
heard.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What inspired that one?
I think we've all kind of had those moments where you're kind of like, it's like you were talking about being nervous about turning 30 or whatever. We've all had that kind of moment where you're like, oh shit, like this is fucking, everything's, feels like the whole world is against me. And then I've always wanted to write that kind of tune where it feels like real tense in the verse, and then have like it'll be okay type chorus where it feels like the song actually slows down, because the verse is just like at 170 BPM, is just going nuts, and all the lyric is just saying how much of a chaotic experience it is, and then the chorus is just it's all fine, it'll be all good. And I know when I've felt like that myself, and then I just know that there's fans of mine that are out there feeling the same way. Like when I'm writing, I'm always trying to write I am trying to write introspectively, but in the lyric I'm always trying to make it as broad as I can so people can actually understand what I'm saying and can like attach themselves to it. I just know that, like I tweeted about it the other day, I was like, some girl wrote to me about something, about one of the songs, and I said, well, I've written a song about being like anxious but everything will be okay, and the song's at 170 BPM, and she was like, I need this song so much. You've no idea. She was just like, I already know it's going to be my favourite song. So I just know what I know what I see it online. I know who I'm talking to. So yeah, that's where Meltdown came from.
Yeah. Do you ever find it hard, maybe, because if you're talking about anxiety, hard to be kind of that vulnerable, or are you very comfortable with that?
I think we're beyond that now, aren't we, these days? Like it probably would have been a thing years ago, but I think like especially men are getting better at it. Like the pretending is no longer, like I don't know even how we covered it up before. Like, people wouldn't even admit to having a hangover or like feeling they just call it like the DTs or whatever after
man flu and all that. Yeah.
I think we're figuring out that wasn't always the case. We're getting better at it though. Yeah. No, I've got no issue with it. I've got no problem saying how I feel. It's a good place to be in, I suppose. Be able to say it out loud.
Yeah. And how does it feel to you? Because obviously you have these fans who are reaching out to you about these songs, clearly really look up to you, and the music means so much to them. How does that feel when you kind of see messages like that?
Yeah, it's great. Like that's exactly what you want. When you go to write a song like that, you want to feel that reaction from them. Funny thing is, they haven't even heard it yet, and I know, like, just by explaining to them what it is, they'll be able to at least touch. If they don't like the song, they'll be able to get the lyric. Here's hoping that they like the song. But it's really cool to have that immediate feedback, and that's what's going to be amazing about the gig. Like that song, for instance, they'll be dancing like crazy.
It's going to be proper catharsis, that one, yeah.
Exactly. But then they'd be like, listen, if you listen to the lyric closely, it's like, ooh. And I'm looking forward to playing that one live. I've done it in rehearsal, and it's fun.
Was live a consideration when you were writing it? Because I was going to say, it sounds like it's going to go like absolutely off at the festival shows this summer. Yeah,
of course. Like I'm always trying to write for a live setting. Touring is kind of what I've known for, I suppose, and playing shows, and that experience is like there's no better feeling. So when I'm writing songs, I'm thinking about like the the roller coaster that you go through a gig, where it's like you have a couple of ballads in the middle and then you're back up tempo and people are going nuts. So you're always thinking about it. When you make a record, there's a certain level of compression that's put on some of the songs, and you can feel the live thing, but you're also thinking this would be so much better live. You know, it's one of those records that needs to be played live for you to feel the whole thing. That's why I can't wait to do these festivals in the summer.
Yeah, well, is it your live festival debut as well?
Yeah.
How are you going to prepare and have people, like, who's given you advice on what to do?
I've been to enough just to be like jealous enough. Like I go to so many festivals and go to Glastonbury every year, and I just get so jealous just watching it. I just like knowing what that must look like to look out at, you know, and you see a big field of people. And yeah, I guess one of the main reasons I wanted to do them was to get try and get like a newer fan on board, because I've been that fella that's been hammered walking around the field in my wellies, going to the bar and then like stopped at a band that I'd never heard of, or seen an artist for the first time that I'd never heard of, and then being a big fan in the end. So I want some of them drunk people to walk past and think I'd listen to that album again, or you know.
Do you sort of relish the challenge of maybe having to win people over as well?
Because you know what it's like at a festival, all the big fans are down the front. You know, they're in the first 200 deep. You know, so you're playing to them, but then you're also playing to the wider audience who are not necessarily there for you. So I'd be excited about that. You know, we'll have fun on stage and we'll be playing a new record, so it'll be exciting anyway. Playing live for the first time in years, playing for the fans, seeing them, and then hopefully a few more people, you know, get an album or something like that and come to a gig down the line. That's the idea, I suppose.
Amazing. And you mentioned Glastonbury there and going to those festivals. Do you have any sort of like festival highlights of people you've caught over the past couple of years?
Oh, I mean, so many. I remember seeing SG Lewis I've become good mates with him, but I remember seeing him at a tent at the top of Glastonbury one year, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and just thinking that fella's sick. Mate of mine had mentioned, you need to come and see SG Lewis. And then I've just been addicted to him since. Like, he's just taken that whole DJ producer thing to a different level. And he's the nicest fella in the world. I mean, seeing Adele at Glastonbury was amazing. Watching Ed play Glastonbury. Paul McCartney the last time was insane. Him bringing out Bruce, who's a hero of mine. I actually cried. That's what happens after 2 or 3 days drinking. Glastonbury.
It was emotional.
It was really cool. Watching Bruce coming out and playing was just, it was mad. With Paul McCartney, real like historic moment. You know, probably the last time that Paul McCartney will play Glastonbury, and it's just it was pretty cool.
Yeah. On Glastonbury, is that a bucket list for you? Maybe.
Oh, at some point I'd absolutely love to. Yeah, I won't be doing it this year, but I would. Yeah, if the Eva's family are listening out, give me a shout.
Amazing. And you've said recently some songs you wrote with your pal Lewis Capaldi won't be released. Are you planning to maybe go in the studio? Would you go back into the studio with him again?
Oh yeah. All these songs that we haven't released are on this shite album he was telling you about that he's releasing. They're the B-sides to this shite album that he was telling you about at the Brits. No, we have to do it. We've got a couple of tunes that we've written. One of them's actually decent, but I think like doesn't meet our high standard, you know. No, we need to get. I don't want to be just releasing stuff just for the sake of it, because people want us to, you know. We want to love what we're putting out there, but we obviously want to love what we release. So if we get in the studio and something comes out, I mean, it'd be stupid not to, wouldn't it? You know, I think that's all I get asked about. It's when people want us to do something. Be good laugh.
And he said recently his dream supergroup would be you, Ed Sheeran, Elton John, and himself.
Some group.
Who would yours be?
That's a great question. Well, now I have to put him in it. Me and him with. That's a great question. Elton's a legend, to be fair. In all senses of the word. Lewis and I have gotten to know Elton a bit. He's so funny. And Dave Grohl.
That'd be cool.
Dave Grohl, myself, Elton John, Lewis Capaldi. What a lineup.
Yeah. Excellent, I'm in. And kind of finally, you've just started as a judge on The Voice in the US.
Yeah.
How strange is it, firstly, to be on the other side of it?
Yeah, it is nuts. I have that. Luckily, I have that natural empathy in my bones, but having been on the other side and knowing what it's like to see some famous bloke have your future in his hands, and now me being that person with somebody's future in my hands and making these mad decisions, that's where it's not fun at all. Like seeing an 18-year-old up there and having to say no to them or whatever. But apart from that, it's just a laugh. I got very lucky with the other coaches. Like, we're just having the best time. It's good banter between everyone, and it's really fun. I'm glad I did it.
Sometimes when you're in places that maybe like it's quite similar to the situation you were in as a teenager, it brings back memories kind of in that way. I find it also when you're around people from that time in your life. Are there any memories that have come back from that time for you that you're like, I completely forgot about that?
Yeah, like when I think about the crack we were having at the X Factor, like in the house and running riot, like being 16 on what was at the time, the biggest show in the country, watched by like 20 million people on a Saturday night. We were acting like it wasn't that big. We were just having a great laugh and enjoying it for what it was. And that's what I'm always trying to say to the artist on this, like, to just like enjoy it for what it is. When you get on The Voice, you get like so many amazing voices, literally. Like, they're all unreal singers. And sometimes that comes with like a care of like technique and a seriousness. And I'm always just like, enjoy it. Like, you're 17, you're on one of the biggest shows in the country. Just get rid of the flashy lights and all that stuff and just get up there and sing and enjoy yourself, because again, you don't know when it's going to end. And I remember that's what we were doing. We were just like enjoying it, just having the best crack 16, 17-year-olds could do outside of going to school. And just don't take it too seriously. I just remember that. I remember thinking that, like, okay, there's 20 million, that camera there has got a red light on top of it and it's got 20 million people down the lens, but who cares? You just have to enjoy it.
And that was in 2010. Since then, there's been solo records, you've toured the world, awards. Now, in 2023, what does success look like to you?
I just have to take it for what it is. Like, you can't, if I was to tell you all of these things that I'd like to do, there's obviously things I would love to do. Like, I would love to be playing arenas, I would love to have a #1 album and, and keep some of the global reach that I've got, and there are things I'd like to do, but I'm not like counting on them every day, because if they don't come true, then I've just let myself down. And I just want to enjoy it for what it is, and I have the ability to thankfully be able to go around the world and play to a lot of people and have an effect on some people's lives through stuff that I write down. So once I can keep having that, I suppose that's what it's about, really. There are things there's goals that I would set in my own head. It's not like I'm going into the studio to try and write the worst song I can possibly do. I'm trying to write the best stuff. I'm trying to play the big shows. I'm trying to, but I'm also not like counting on that, because I could get let down and then I'd just be sad.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a lovely place to finish. Niall, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I love that. It was brilliant. Don't listen to my album. It's a load of shite.